It's a trap!
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I break your concentration?
This is the Team of Rivals podcast.
Everything you want to hear from the big sports to the big screen.
He's all by himself, fires into the end zone. Caught! Touchdown! No! Vaughn into the windup in his first offering. Just a bit outside. He tried the corner this.
He doesn't like you. I don't like you either.
Time winding down. Michael for three. Yes! She is gone!
I don't believe what I just saw!
Go crazy, folks! Go crazy!
You believe in miracles? Yes!
You may fire when ready.
What?
All right, everyone. Welcome back on a Friday night. I say welcome back on a Friday night. Hell, we haven't done a show on a Friday night forever, so it must be something happening tonight. And so the only thing I can guess is that I have a guest on here, the first appearance for him on Team of Rivals podcast. That would be, you've known him as about 16 different names since I've known him on Twitter out there, but that's currently at Dylan_Dinger is joining me tonight. Used to be known as STL Matnels and various other aliases out there on Twitter, but he's with me tonight. So I guess, my friend, we're here to talk about Eddie Rosario signing with the Indians, right, on a Friday. That's why we would break into this and have a conversation.
Yeah, that's why we're convening Friday night at 9:40 p.m. for a special Eddie Rosario announcement.
And is for many weeks when the non-tender list went out. I mean, actually, Matt Knowles, I was kind of wondering. He was a name I was kind of coveting. I mean, personally, I know there was Jacques Peterson, there was Kyle Schwarber. We know that Jacques Peterson today signed with the Cubs, which they thought, Christ, they thought they had the division wrapped up at that point, right? It's such an upgrade over Schwarber. No, we're not here to talk about any of that shit, right? We were here to talk about the news tonight, something I was skeptical of for more than 2 years now that this would ever happen. But the unbelievable has happened. I believed it more and more today, but man, I stayed completely circumspect until I saw somebody like with the ilk of Ken Rosenthal and Derek Gould and those guys start talking about it. Then I'm like, uh-oh, man, this is a real thing. So the Cardinals have acquired Nolan Arenado. We don't know the entire details of this deal yet, but man, first reaction. I want to ask you your first reaction.
I mean, I'm stoked. I mean, you go from hoping and waiting and hoping for this deal to come through. Hell, for 2 years we've been waiting. I kind of makes you sound spoiled, but we've been waiting for, another big name to come back into St. Louis. And, with COVID and everything slowing down the season last year and the connections again last offseason with the Cardinals and Nolan Arenado they've come full circle. And, as long as this thing is official, I'm ecstatic. Honest to God, I'm ecstatic. And I can't wait to see him in the birds on the bat uniform and doing what he does at third base.
Isn't it amazing, though? I mean, the expectations I had going in, I've been very clear, and they've heard me on Two Birds on a Bat. You've heard me on my own show on Team of Rivals. There's a roundtable that was done a few weeks ago, and I literally, and I believe this, I believed it all, that the Cardinals were going to, I felt that 2021 was going to be a push.
Oh, absolutely. I did too.
Yeah, and you probably did. And a lot of other Cardinals fans that we know on Twitter have been talking about this forever and saying that 21 is likely a push because we knew we had so much money coming off the books next year that the big move would be made in 2022. Now, part of my resistance to that, Matt Knowles, is that, look, the Cardinals, their game is not in the open market. Like, how many times have they ever won that? Like, none.
Yeah, you're right.
Like, never, right? Like, Johnny Peralta doesn't count. I'm talking about the big guys, the names like a Nolan Arenado, like a Matt Holliday. They got Matt Holliday because he was just with them. Let's face it.
I mean,
their game, right? Their way of doing it is trading for, getting him into St. Louis, getting it into the system, and for the most part, with the exception of Jason Hayward and maybe some others throughout the decades, most of them choose to stay. And so the way they did this, Matt Knowles, was a very Cardinal way of doing it.
Absolutely. Yeah. And, I mean, he fits what they need. And, I mean, Nolan Arenado is a baseball player through and through. I mean, he's got his sparks whenever he needs to. And, I mean, he's a Gold Glover at third base and something we haven't seen since, hopefully future Hall of Famer Scott Rowland was manning that bag over there.
And it takes you back to a lot of moves, and that's the first one I thought about. So let's go back in the past a little bit to the times that the Cardinals have done something like this. Obviously, look, say all you want about the organization, and God knows a lot of us have been on their ass for years, right, about just not doing enough. And I'm not there yet, Matt Knowles, where I'm saying it's enough, because there's still a pretty wide gap between where the Dodgers are at, where the Padres are at, possibly even the Braves and Mets. This closes that significantly, I believe, for a couple reasons. Defensively, you've got the best corner spots in the National League. I mean, you have to really convince me on paper right now that the corners of the infield, that anybody in the National League has anything better. And I don't think so. When you have Goldschmidt at first, Arenado at second. Man, I'm getting way ahead of myself. My mind's moving way faster than my mouth's going to right now.
It's getting late.
It's getting late. It's getting more late for me than you. When you have Arenado at third, Goldschmidt at first, that's a hell of a corner infield, right? We have not seen that literally since we had Pujols and Roland. I think that's what you were alluding to. But even going back to other moves that the Cardinals made that have been significant, they've had some big ones in the last 3 or 4 years, right? Going back to Ozuna, to Goldschmidt, now to Arenado. But go back in the past even further. A pretty significant trade for Matt Holliday. Now, that was midseason, but you remember a lot of other moves they've made that have been not midseason. This is the way they do it. And this is a very Cardinal way of doing it. And I know that there's still a potential opt-out for 21. However, reportedly, and we don't know this yet, the Rockies have kicked in $50 million of his $199 owed over the next 6 years. That doesn't tell me that the opt-out's still on the table.
Yeah, and it may not be. You can't blame a player, but how do you? I mean, of course, every player wants to see the market, but I think once he gets to town and you're throwing to an all-star at first base, and unfortunately, I don't think Arenado is going to get to see 40,000 fans like I would. That's all I could think about today, honestly. Is how can we do this to where we can bend the rules enough to where Arenado's first game in St. Louis, it's a packed house. They're doing, the pomp and circumstance and all that stuff, and the Clydesdales and all the Hall of Famers. How can we make that happen in this time? Because that's what that's the allure of St. Louis, and it's kind of a bummer that I don't think we're going to get to see that.
Well, yeah, it is, and I think you bring up a thing there too that we don't know what we're going to get in 21. We don't know how soon stadiums are going to be able to be filled. We don't know if we're going to have that big event that happens on opening day that we all love and we have all missed. We haven't seen it for a while. And you know what? No major league fan has. But on the as we exit 21 and go into 22, when he would be a free agent, there's a CBA anyway, right? So much uncertainty going into that, and even into 21. That look, I believe that opt out, it could potentially. We'll find out. I don't know. I'm only guessing right now. We're only left to guess because we don't have details. I'm guessing that's probably not a thing. I don't think the Cardinals make a move like this unless that's not a thing anymore.
True. I mean, and that could honestly be the money too.
Right.
I'm going to say this, and I don't know anything more than the next guy, and I've kind of preached this a couple times today, but I think that is the reason that Wainwright's coming back. I think that's a lot of the reason that, the rumors that Molina's going to sign after he gets done with his other baseball stuff going on. But I think, they came together and said, hey, put us in contention for our last year. And I think they said, okay. And everything under the sun has came out today that made me think that this deal was going to happen. But I think that's a lot of the pull for those guys to come back.
Mm-hmm. I agree with you, because look at now. I believe a lot of what Adam said. This is a place he wants to be, so he might have returned regardless of this move. I do believe that he had maybe some information or some inkling that something like this might happen, or they were at least working on it.
Mm-hmm.
Because his alternative, Matt Knowles, and we heard this, was San Diego, and San Diego has a legit shot. Like, as of this morning, don't talk about what we know now. Talk about this morning. If you knew it was going to be your last year, and like all of us, we speculated the Cardinals weren't going to be able to do, or just unwilling to do anything to improve themselves this year because of the money coming off for next year. His alternative for his last year could have been San Diego, reportedly, right? They had an offer in for him. He could have went there and had an absolutely legitimate shot to join that team and go deep within the postseason.
I think, like I said, I don't know, but I think they were kind of a pair. I was actually looking, I think last night or the night prior, to San Diego's catchers to see if that was a possibility. Obviously anything can happen if you bring in a name like Molina, but I really truly feel like the front office said, stay in St. Louis. We're going to get a team behind you. And I can't fathom the Carlson, Goldschmidt, Arenado lineup. I mean, I hate to say it because there's still a couple weak spots, but we're pushing the 2004 team in my eyes.
Yeah,
we really are.
And I want to go there in a second, because I like where you're going with that conversation about what this lineup looks like now, because it does change things quite a bit, right? But think about also, and I agree with you, and it could have been one of those situations, Matt Knowles, where they were looking at, making their pitch to Molina and Wainwright to stay, even at the money they offered, and saying, look, you guys don't know this yet. We're working on this. Or, stand fast. We're going to put a team behind you. We got something big in the works. I don't believe a move like this for Nolan Arenado just started happening, 36 hours ago. This is obviously something they've been working on for a while. And I don't think they would tip these guys off to anything like that if it weren't real.
Oh, absolutely not. I went back and forth with Brendan today about the subtweet that Flaherty sent out of an excited GIF right around the time of Mozeliak's Zoom earlier, and I was like, man, this is something. This is absolutely something. I do look into things too much, but I felt, especially if they're discussing it. I don't know how the text conversations work, but I would assume that they sent or messages were passed that, hey, we are absolutely working on this. Hang tight. And if the rumors have been swirling around and people are discussing it, then it was in the works. So.
Yeah, you have to think that, right? These guys, when nothing happens, they're used to hearing responses in a certain way, and when they're slightly different, and they were all saying it today, in their own way, right? They weren't coming out and saying it like blatantly, but they were all kind of like, "Hey, take it for what it's worth." I think the moment I felt like this was real, and it's not like I put Jimmy the Cat Hayes as the be all end all for speculation or anything that's out there, but when he tweeted out that he had talked to a couple people within the Rockies or organization that they felt like something was going to happen, I'm like, oh man, this feels actually more real, and it felt more urgent.
It's one of those guys that
he
doesn't
wouldn't do
talk
that.
on
He
those
would
matters.
not do that. Right. He never does that. And the fact that he did that was
cargo shorts and dog pictures. That's his go-to. And whenever you see somebody talk about those things, you feel better. Hell, just being back in the conversation with Arenado is bringing back emotion, and it's one of those things we just get let down year after year. But
Well,
it's gonna have to set in that once this is official, that our lineup will be healthy.
well, it really is the cat though, and he is the best. I mean,
I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but I'm a huggable guy. I mean, look at me.
I mean, he doesn't lie. He doesn't lie when he puts stuff out like that. I vetted that out now. That claim you just heard was on a show I did 2.5 years ago, and I've had all of a sudden I've had Matt Holliday, Brad Thompson, and now Dan McLaughlin, and Dan even went as far as said that Cat was spoonable. So I didn't really necessarily want to hear that, but the guy, my reaction was I don't think he would tweet that unless he thought that was something that had teeth.
Oh,
So,
absolutely.
yeah.
But again, we let ourselves down every year. You just had to stand by, and see
Well, when the
what's
big
going
names
down.
are out there, usually, right? Especially during free agency, we always say,
Well,
hey, we hope the
look,
Cardinals are in the conversation.
I want to point something out.
Yeah, go ahead.
It's not February yet, and Mozeliak said
That's right.
January is the new December.
December's the new January, you're
December
right.
is the new January.
You had it
January
right
is the
first
new
time.
December. He said something.
He said
along
something.
those
It confuses. It all confuses me anytime he
but
talks.
it's not
usually.
February yet. So he kept to his word.
He did.
But
he was right. He was absolutely right. You know what? That guy was right. January is the new December, and lo and behold, I mean, it took to the end of January, granted, but the logjam really started breaking with signings like JT Real Muto and everything. And then everything started moving quick.
I had confidence in it whenever, the Cardinals are not known to wait until spring training to get a deal done. They want to get it done prior to spring training. And with Arenado's disgust, I will say, from what I read in the media last year, he was kind of over it. Shortened season, the Cardinals didn't need to make that move last year. It makes absolute sense.
Mm-hmm.
But, this team, as it sits right now, gets you past, in my eyes, it gets you past your San Diego. Okay, last year San Diego. Let me rephrase that. Gets you past last year San Diego, and it goes head to head with the Dodgers. Honestly, last year, obviously.
So Matt Knowles, let me ask you this though: as you talk about that move and talk about what could have happened last year and what actually happened today, we don't know the details. But let's talk about our entire infield and the impact, because I want to hear your opinion on this. Because look. Before this morning, or before tonight, Matt Carpenter had to be the starting third baseman. And that's not going to be the case anymore. We know that Colton Long was not tendered, and he's not going to be the starting second baseman. That's going to be Tommy Edman, as far as we know right now. So what do you think?
So.
What do you think? How do you think Matt Carpenter may or may not fit in this equation, right? That's happened tonight.
Well, one of two things. I think me and you discussed this earlier, though. I think me and you discussed this a month or two back, where I thought that they might move him to second base again due to his arm. But I don't know where he fits. I don't know. There's too much high right now. I think he has potential to move back to second, but is the bat there? I don't know. I would like to see Edman either lead off. But I don't know where you fit Matt Carpenter. I don't know if you try to slide a deal over to somewhere else, maybe Boston or some. I don't know. But
do you
now,
do you suspect at all that he could have potentially been a part of this? I know he had a full no trade, like he could nix anything. But his rhetoric last year said, he would look. You think he's in the last year, right, of his guaranteed deal?
Mm-hmm.
Would he take an opportunity? Like, could he have been a part of this to get more playing time? Because right now his playing time is going to be limited if you look at it, right? I would have to think that the Cardinals and Mike Schilt would want to look the way the starters line up right now. You'd have to say that Tommy Edman's going to be your second baseman at this point. I don't know how you put Carpenter there right now. And you're right. We had this conversation, but that's before we talked about Nolan Arenado being a permanent fixture at third base. So
yeah. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if they try to shuffle him back over there, give him that opportunity. I don't know if they rotate Edman in the outfield. I mean, you've got your starting. In my eyes, you've got one position player out there that's not leaving. I won't mention any names, but I'm a big fan of his. But I think they give Carpenter some reps at second base if he doesn't get traded. But we still got some holes out there in the outfield, some questions, and so I don't know.
Well, we definitely have questions in the outfield. I think the infield is the way I see this right now, today, I think the infield is solved, right?
Oh, absolutely.
You needed an offensive upgrade from a corner position, either third base or right field, left field. You had a combination of Bader, O'Neill, or Carlson that could fill in.
I hate to say this
because
I love sticking to our guys that have come through the system.
Mm-hmm.
But if I've got to part ways with one of your guys who were in there last year, I've got to get rid of Carpenter. Especially how Dex has been, last year. And I think the switch hitting hitter. I think a switch hitter is very versatile. And he, I think he was decent at the plate last year, but I just don't know if Carpenter will see it again. I just think the bat is too slow, and it sucks, but I mean, that's what it is.
Yeah. I think his left-handed bat is too slow, and Fowler does have that advantage of, being a switch hitter, although I don't know how often he's going to see time as a right-handed hitter. He's in the last year of his deal, so I think they're less inclined, to give him playing time, given it's his last year. Their commitment only goes so far, right? I mean, it was 2 years ago. You're going to see him out there all the time. Last year, I don't know what to expect from Dex this year, but here's the thing, and it happens every time you acquire a big name. I think there'll be a surge on the team, a surge of energy. You bring in a guy. You
saw the tweets today. Look at Flaherty was shooting off some excited gifs for, 2 and 10 minutes. Like, he's fired up about it.
Yeah. You have to think the other guys are too. I mean, their team just got a lot
absolutely. Better. But does this, I hate to stray off here, but does this go deeper into different, more into the future, we'll say? Does it go off into the future? Are we looking at, even Flaherty with a looming contract coming, going, this team wants to be good, I can stay here now? Like, I don't want to go off on a tangent because
I'm still here.
Okay, sorry.
I shut the camera off. I didn't realize I still had it on.
Caught me off guard. But I don't want to go off into something else that can be talked about another time. But this could be signs for the guys that you're going to have to sign down the line. You've got him in a few years, and if he sees the team is trying to be good and competitive, what's not to say it's not going to keep him in St. Louis?
Well, it's a step in the right direction if you wanted to
absolutely
do that, right? I think it's adding a name, right, to the organization that I think it was sorely lacking. Of course, we have Molina, but Molina's name's biggest to us in St. Louis, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're fans of St. Louis. Paul Goldschmidt was, yes, we all knew who he was. Like, the league had an awareness. He became bigger to us. He's here. But to the rest of the league, he's still like, yeah, we know that guy. He's pretty good. Nolan Arenado is widely regarded as one of the best, if not the best, absolute best at third base right now, offensively and defensively, especially defensively. So,
these are pipe dream names, honestly.
Yeah, they are. And so he's on the team now. And so that swagger, it starts to feed into more of that swagger that they have lost. And you know this too, right? We've watched them the last 4 years, and they have lacked that. They have lacked that swagger, that I hate to say this, damn it, I can't find a better word, but Scott Boras coined it, and it's that prestige value that you get from those types of names, and he brings all of that to the table. I will say this. I'm not going to say they're there yet, Nationals, and being where we all want them to be offensively with everybody up and down the lineup. Hold on, I'm getting a Zoom notification. I don't think that this team is like got a full lineup that we feel comfortable with, like lineups in the past that we got spoiled by. I thought it would take more than just Arenado's bat being in St. Louis's lineup to get them where we all think they need to be. So there could still be work done. And I think you were alluding to earlier, hey, we're not even in February yet. So there could still be something left to do. we'll see if they do that. I think we have a lot to learn from the pieces that were dealt. We don't know that yet.
Yeah, I mean, we've got a rough sketch from what, we've heard. One of the names I am kind of sad to see go, if it is in fact him. I think I wasn't a big supporter, but last year he really grabbed my attention. And Austin Gomber. I mean, yes. I hate to see that, but at the same time, if you're dealing that and you're keeping your top, I mean, if you're keeping any top 5 prospect out of it, I mean, that these big names that you've got down in your system, if they're staying intact, and I mean, the Cardinals are loaded with pitching, and so I mean, it is what it is. I'm excited to see Zach Thompson hopefully in the next year or two, but yeah, on a rough sketch of what we've seen, I think they did about right. And I think it may have been because we don't know anything else with the contract or the opt out. Sorry.
Yeah, and we don't, but I think they kicked $50 million in, so I think the opt out's off the table. I mean, that's just that is purely my guess. I have no idea. I could be completely wrong, and maybe there's a clause in there that says if he does opt out, the Rockies only end up kicking $20 million in. I mean, we don't know. So, the names that I had seen kind of scroll across Twitter tonight as I was following this after I learned about it, Andrew Kisner was going to be the headline. Not surprising if you think Molina's coming back, right?
Well, so that was the centerpiece last year. I know there was something floating around earlier today with that as a centerpiece. I don't know if that's still on the table or not. I mean, if it is, okay, I guess. I still think you need some reps, but I mean, if you have Molina there, what's your other option for him?
Yeah, how many games is he really going to catch if Molina comes back? Like, what do you think the terms were that he would come back? Like, he was going to get a bulk of the playing time, if not like as much as he's used to, right?
Absolutely.
That's what he was prepared. He was prepared to do that. That's what he wanted. And look, I see it both ways, and I've said this all off season on every show I've ever recorded, that if the Cardinals made a decision, if they drew a line and said, hey, look, Molina, when he signed this deal, said he was going to retire after it. And so we have this catcher in Kisner, and we believe that that's our way forward, and we're going to turn the page.
Mm-hmm.
I would maybe not like that personally. Like, emotionally, I wouldn't like that. But logically, I'd be like, okay, that's a decision they made, and I would be at least able to understand that and move on.
Yeah, it would make more sense. Absolutely.
You'd want to start his playing time, start his clock. He can't be a rookie for 5 or 6 years up here, riding the bench. Like, you got to start playing him at some point. If they made that call, I would have been fine with it. But I think my suspicion is that they're higher on this guy Herrera.
That's my understanding too.
Right, and so another year or two of Yachty to let this young guy get ready might exactly be what they want. And the Rockies, if they need a catcher, Kisner's a highly touted. I mean, he's not like a top 100, but he's a pretty solid catching prospect. And so this could make sense for the Rockies if he's a centerpiece of the deal. I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it because Molina is coming back for one more year at least, if not more. And you've got another prospect, a catching prospect under him that they are very favorable on. So it could make a lot of sense.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, at this point in time, I mean, as long as you're not dealing Carlson, I'm okay with any deal to upgrade this lineup. I mean, I was okay with getting rid of Bader, honestly.
How torn were you going to be tonight if Carlson's name would have been included?
I would have been if Carlson was in the deal, I would no longer be a Cardinals fan. I would strictly be a Colorado Rockies fan, and I would have the U-Haul moving truck out front tomorrow, headed to Colorado.
And I know one Cardinals fan that would be thrilled to see you moving to Colorado, and I think that would be Tito.
Oh, he would now. He would miss me. See, he plays hard to get, but he would miss me. Honestly, he would.
No? Okay. All right, so the way this shapes up, we don't know who the names are yet, but this is pretty exciting stuff. It harkens back to all the other big moves they've made, at least in my memory. I remember sitting in the Marine Corps Chow Hall over in Hawaii, just looking up because they had ESPN on a TV, a tube TV. The big heavy things. They had a mount with bolts into concrete. Learning about McGuire being traded to the Cardinals and being excited about that.
Ron, you're showing your age.
I know. That's pretty pathetic, right? But this is their way of doing it. It's a very Cardinal way of doing it. They don't win on the open market, but they can get these guys. I think they do a pretty good job, and I think Mozeliak has done a pretty good job of recognizing what they need. He doesn't always get it right. We know that. But I think some lessons have been learned. I think this is a good acquisition. I don't think this is the savior move that's going to put them over the top, make them the way through the National League to the World Series. They're not there yet, but I think this is definitely a step in the right direction.
Outside of the NL Central, it's tough. I mean, let's be real. You got the Mets charging. The Braves are still good. Dodgers still good, and the Padres are surging. I mean, it's tough, but I mean, this. We'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, well, time will tell. Let's. This is all fresh to us right now, so we'll get another day or two, another week to kind of let this all soak in, see who the names involved were, and then we can kind of regroup, I think, and figure out, hey, how much better of a position are we in now? Certainly, we're better. We're going to net out better regardless, I feel.
Yeah, well, this won't set in until he's in uniform and everything. Honest to God, the Goldschmidt hasn't even set in. I mean, yeah, I see him in the uniform, but it's just one of those things that it's like you have an all-star team, kind of. I say that.
Well, at least you can legitimately look at it for the first time in years and go, we've got 2 or 3 legitimate all-stars in the starting lineup, right? And it's been a while. The Cardinals, a couple of position players had to have extraordinary years to kind of be at that level. So it's been a little while. The Cardinals have gotten by run prevention over how many years now? They rely on pitching and defense and smart base running, under Schilt, and it's been less about, any kind of flash or offensive production. So, this could change things a little bit. It's not going to get them completely there to what we were used to in the mid 2000s, but it gets them a step closer. I do believe that it puts them in a position where I think most fans, most experts would look at it right now and go, they're probably the favorites in the NL Central.
Oh, there's no doubt. I don't think anybody else is going to compare.
And so they've got, at least they have a chance now, a better chance than they did yesterday. So I'll leave it at that. But Matt Knowles, I'm glad you pressured me tonight to do an emergency podcast.
I didn't think I would get you to create my my intro quick enough to get that out. So I figured we might as well just roll with this.
No, you're right. I wasn't going to be able to get to that tonight, but I was able to at least get a half an hour here to take some time out to talk about this. But I think it's worthy of it, and we're excited. There's some energy back into Cardinals fandom rather than the malaise we thought we were going to deal with for the next year. But it's here. You know what? We made the big move. It's a big name. It's a big deal. It's a big deal, and it's going to be fun to experience the next few days to see how everybody feels about this. So I regret that I couldn't get a couple Cubs fans on here tonight to bitch about that and brag about their acquisition of Jock Peterson. But
I'm going to take Arenado over Jock any day of the week. So,
but you know what's going to happen, and one of my co-hosts already predicted tonight. He's like, "Hey, what are you gonna say if Jock Peterson has a better year as a Cub than Arenado does as a Cardinal?" I'm like, "Oh man, God, I don't even want to think about it. I'm just gonna enjoy what we are experiencing right now, and that is, we got an answer to third base that we haven't for a long time. We finally have that middle order bat, a couple of them now, and I think it's gonna be a really good thing. So, we're reinvigorated, we're re-energized, and we'll get to talk about this for a while now." And so we'll look forward to spring training to see see Nolan show up in a red uniform for the first time.
Absolutely.
That'd be awesome. All right. Well, this is a little bit of an impromptu. This is not a live show, so my normal exit is not going to apply here. But you can catch us on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, Radio Public. Amazon has launched a new podcast service. It's on Audible. You can find us on there. You can find us on Google Podcasts. Trying to teach Matt Knowles all this stuff, so I hope he's writing it down. You can find us anywhere you're looking for podcasts. You can check us out at teamofrivalspodcast.com. You can email us and tell us how bad we are at the show at teamofrivalspodcast.com. Matt Knowles, where can they find you on Twitter?
For right now, they're going to find me at Dylan_Dinger. For right now.
For right now, until he changes it to Arenado. Something. You can find me at TOR_Ron75. And I tell you what, pretty exciting weekend here we're going to experience, but we'll be back on live on Thursday on the Team of Rivals podcast. You can check us out on GatewayCitySports.com. You can check out a couple other great shows there. Derek King Sports Show that airs every Wednesday at 9 a.m. Central Time. You can also check out 2 for 3 by Moose Michaels. It's another podcast that's under the network. And until next week, we love you all so much. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye, everyone.